In order to understand what happened on September 29th, we need to go back a few days. You did not hear anything from the state's case about any context about this awful, awful set of circumstances. So let's go back. What you're going to hear is on Monday, Ben and Meghan were sick from school. They did things that they normally would do together, and with their parents, they were a tight-knit group. They played video games, they sat around the house, watched TV. Other than that, no school. They were off for a few days. The day of, so September 28th, what the evidence is going to show, and what you've already seen, a lot of this evidence, is at some point Ben and his dad were playing video games from around 6 to 11 p.m. And from that moment on, then Ben was trying to go to sleep. He was probably going to go to school the next day. Still a little bit up in the air. So he does what a lot of us do, what a lot of 17-year-olds do. Starts laying in bed, messing with his phone, looking at YouTube, looking at Reddit. All things you know he's already told the police about that are corroborated with the forensic evidence. He's not trying to cover up his behavior, no matter how hard they try. And so what the evidence is going to show, that at some point, it's now 4 o'clock. Ben is checking his phone. I've got to get up soon. He's checking his phone. I've got to get up soon. This is a common thing that I think at some point all of us have done. We better get to sleep. Sometime around 4:17, Ben finally falls asleep. You're going to hear testimony that Ben can fall asleep very quickly. You're going to see empirical evidence that Ben can fall asleep very quickly, and that he enters into a dreamlike state. Now, you're going to hear from different experts. So let's get kind of the elephant in the room out of the way. Okay? Parasomnia. Is this just some made-up baloney as a really creative defense? The answer is absolutely not. And the state, which you're going to see from the evidence, the state's going to agree to that. You heard no testimony during their case in chief about this, but there's going to be no question parasomnias are real, and they are frightening. So this is the International Classification of Sleep Disorders. You're going to hear a lot about that. You're going to hear that from the state's expert, Dr. Pressman. He's going to talk about this. Okay? There is a litany of research to support parasomnias. Their own expert, this is not going to be a question in this case. So let's make sure we're clear. Their own expert, the government's own expert, will tell you parasomnias can happen and they can be lethal. That people do violent things in their sleep. And this is not a ruse. This is not some defense to get Ben off of a tragic, tragic set of circumstances. So these will become familiar to you. You're going to hear testimony. Nobody's going to dispute these things. Okay, this is just the literature from the ICSD. Okay? What you will hear is on these disorders of arousals, these NREM related disorders, they don't happen hours into your sleep. They happen relatively quickly. They happen in slow wave sleep. So the amount of time, the 4:17 a.m., let's just assume for argument's sake, Ben doesn't go to sleep till 4:18. Let's just assume that, and we're fine with that. Because that's plenty of time, according to the literature, according to the research, according to the data, for Ben to fall asleep and enter a parasomnia. And the reason that's possible, one, is it's scientifically possible, but two, it just makes sense. Ben's trying to go to sleep. He's got to get up soon. And you're going to hear how the further this goes on without sleep, it can exacerbate the circumstances. So, again, from the same manual, both state and defense will accept this as gospel, that during certain parasomnias, in extreme cases, victims have been stabbed with knives or hit with blunt objects. So why am I going over what this evidence is going to show? It's because there shouldn't be a doubt in your mind or skepticism. This is a real phenomenon because it's not us saying it. It's not me saying it. They're going to say it too. So the ultimate question is going to be, did it happen in this case? So, all right, this is another article you're going to see. This is Dr. Shank, one of the articles. This is from 2024. And this is going to be broken down, and you're going to see the merits of all the studies, of all the different cases where this type of incident has happened. Okay. Cases of homicide have been described since ancient history. Parasomnias are the most common sleep disorder responsible for violent sleep-related behaviors. This is all from the literature and from the different treatises that these experts will be talking to you about. Automatic behaviors. What can happen during a parasomnia? You will see, this is uncontroverted. This is not just Carrie's Mickey Mouse science or something I've created. Eating, having sex, driving, and aggression. You are not consciously aware during these events. No action is intentionally or knowingly made. Ladies and gentlemen, Ben was not intentionally and knowingly committing acts against his sister. While you're walking, you can manipulate items with your eyes wide open. Patients can ambulate through space. You are able to perform a wide range of complex and purposeful behaviors outside of bed, including murdering or attempted murder of another human being without fully waking up until it's too late. Again, this is not me saying this. This is what the literature is going to say. This is what their own experts are going to say. So the question is it possible that this was Ben? All right, what part of sleep and when? Shortly after the onset of sleep, in REM slow wave. It can be within minutes of falling asleep. Now you're going to hear there's a range. It's possible for different ranges. But the literature certainly accepts that within minutes of falling asleep. All right, how do you determine if it's an act of violence during a parasomnia? So, is it possible for someone to misuse a parasomnia and claim something as a defense when it's just a fabrication? Yes, it is. All right? My kids are pretty clever. They know the cases I work on. All right? When the dishes aren't done, Dad was a parasomnia. Right? Is there a history of cases where this is not appropriate? Absolutely there are. Miss Hart and I aren't going to try to convince you of something that we don't wholeheartedly believe is absolutely true. So how do you determine it? And this goes back to the articles and to the literature. There's a sleep diagnosis. Do they have a sleep disorder? It's a short duration. There's a lack of motive. This is not me saying this. This is what both experts are going to say. Proximity, and there's no attempt to cover it up. Does that sound familiar? And then there's amnesia, dreamlike. All right, so let's just go through lack of motive. Because I want to focus on this for a second and what the evidence is going to show.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to argumentative.
What the evidence is going to show.
Let me finish. These are his opening statements. This is what the evidence, I suppose, is going to show, Mr. Rucker?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, it's overruled. You may be seated. You may continue, sir.
What the evidence is going to show, what you've already seen, what the evidence is going to show, there's lack of motive. Let's talk about, opening statements aren't evidence. Fine. Do you recall another opening statement? Did the evidence show, will the evidence show, has the evidence shown that on the 911 call, Ben said, "Hello? Hello? My name's Benjamin Elliott. I just killed my sister." No. It did not. You've heard that 911 call. I've listened to it 100 times. Every time it's just as painful. But he doesn't say that. Why were you told that? Because that sounds really bad. The evidence does not show that Ben was whispering or that he said, hello, hello, my name is Benjamin Elliott. It's not true. Why were you told that? The other evidence you have not been shown is who is Ben, who is Meghan. Why have you not been shown those things? The evidence is going to show it's relevant to lack of motive. Benjamin's on the 911 call, as you're going to see, he's saying things like, oh my God, I thought it was a dream. No, she's breathing, please, please. The operator even has to tell Benjamin what you're going to see is, Benjamin, take a deep breath for me, please. And then at one point, she is breathing. I thought it was a dream. I stabbed her and then it wasn't. Now, we can Monday morning quarterback every single sentence that Benjamin Elliott uttered in this case. It's all pretty much the same thing. Not pretty much in he's whispering or he's saying, hello, hello, my name is Benjamin Elliott. No, if we're going to scrutinize Ben, we scrutinize everything that way. So these are all instances where Ben is screaming out, please, I don't want her to die. He has life-saving attempts at least 10 minutes. You're going to see that from the evidence. He's trying to do CPR and how exhausting that is. So that's Ben, that's Meghan. That is the same Benjamin Elliott that is sitting right here. He is not a psychopath. He is not a sociopath. He is not crazy. So either he had some hidden motive and he was mad at his sister and he killed her in the middle of the night, which is not, it's not true. You're not going to find that anywhere. He loved his sister. The evidence is going to show Meghan was someone on the spectrum. Ben a little bit too, but Ben was the funny one. He was witty. Okay, you're going to hear from family and friends that say Ben's kind of a goofball. They're both kind of nerdy, but they're both sweet. When Ben walks with his sister and it's in the rain, you're going to hear from witnesses that say Ben's the kind of guy, he holds the umbrella for his twin sister. When they're at parties, when Meghan starts to recede because she's uncomfortable because there's too many people, that's part of her condition. She gets nervous, she retreats. You're going to hear Ben will stop what he's doing to go check on her, bring her back. That is who Ben Elliott is. So you're going to be left with a decision, the evidence is going to show, that either Ben, he's one of two things. He's either a psychopath who kills for no reason, or he was having a parasomnia. And when you're looking at the evidence, keep in mind, it is not our burden to prove that he didn't intentionally knowingly commit this act. It's their burden. But Ms. Hart and I, we will take that challenge. Even though we don't legally have to, we will show you that Benjamin Elliott was having a parasomnia, that there's no chance, no motive, no reason for him to do this, that he suffers from this to this day. And at the end, we're going to ask that you find him not guilty.
Call your first witness.